Good evening. Tonight we're learning more about a shooting in a quiet Mesa neighborhood that left 2 people dead and 2 innocent bystanders hurt. Thanks for joining us tonight for 12 News at 10. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Kadiba Devine. Mesa police say that a man allegedly opened fire on the neighborhood last night before turning the gun on himself. 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra is live near Lindsay and Brown Roads with the very latest on this investigation. Gabby?
Mark Ribe, people living here tell me their neighborhood was basically on lockdown Sunday night. They had police blocking off the entrances off of Lindsay Road, and officers were going door to door telling people to stay inside. A quiet Sunday evening quickly turned to chaos.
I heard a couple of bangs. I thought it was fireworks because it's 4th of July.
And this Mesa neighborhood near Lindsay and Brown Roads is now riddled with bullet holes.
There was probably 5 sets of gunshots. And some of them were like firecrackers. They kept going off.
Mesa police say 47-year-old Kevin Richardson allegedly shot and killed another man before firing off rounds on the rest of the neighborhood and at a police helicopter.
Probably like 40 or 50, but not all at once. It's just kind of sporadic, like 13 shots and then like another 13 shots.
2 neighbors, a 14-year-old boy and his father, were struck by stray bullets. Family tells me the boy was shot in his wrist and the father in his leg. Their home and car are also heavily damaged.
When you realize there's no fireworks on the ground and bullet holes in cars, it's concerning.
Police suspect Richardson took his own life. He was found with a rifle, wearing a tactical helmet and vest.
You really think, is that really Kevin? He wouldn't do something like that.
Neighbors left shaken by the sudden act of violence are now wrapping their arms around the families affected.
It's hard to believe. I mean, I don't really understand how something like this bad can happen right here.
Police have not yet publicly identified the man who was killed. The other victims, the teenage boy and his father, are both expected to survive. A fundraiser was created to help them pay for medical expenses, and we have a link to that on 12news.com. Live in Mesa, Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
All right, Gabby, thank you. The pocket fire burning north of Sedona doubled in size today as fire crews battled windy and dry conditions once again. The National Interagency Fire Center says that the fire has now burned more than 12,000 acres. Areas in Oak Creek Canyon, Kachina Village, Forest Highlands, and Pinedale remain on set status. Meanwhile, State Route 89A remains closed from Sedona to Fort Tuthill except for residents. The fire is still 0% contained. State lands across Coconino, Gila, Maricopa, and Pinal counties will enter Stage 2 fire restrictions starting tomorrow at 8 a.m.
And even though it was a little cooler today, these conditions are no joke. Let's get to meteorologist Chris Dunn. And Chris, after another tough day for firefighters, do the conditions improve at all?
Yeah, not a whole lot. We'll have to wait a couple of days for the winds will finally start to abate and help out the firefight, but it's going to be very dry and unfortunately bad situation for the firefighters as far as the weather is concerned. Here's the fire perimeter right here. We'll zoom out a little bit. There's Sedona, Kachina Village, Munns Park, and Flagstaff. And because the wind is all blowing from southwest to northeast, it's taking the smoke from that fire and blowing it directly over Flagstaff. This is through tomorrow morning, and that will likely continue through Tuesday and on into Wednesday and extending all the way up here across the Navajo Nation and additional fires up to the north, producing some smoke blowing up all the way to the Four Corners into Colorado. And speaking of the Four Corners, we have critical fire weather concerns for this area right here because of a reinvigoration of the winds. So it's been dry. The air is very dry, especially for this time of the year, which is our driest time of the year, but it's unusually strong winds across northern Arizona. And so that's going to really elevate the fire danger. 30%, that's the recovery on the relative humidity right now. Lowest relative humidity is in the afternoon, 10 to 15%, still at 15% in Winslow. Sedona at 19%, just 7% of relative humidity in Phoenix. The wind backs off tonight, but it picks up again tomorrow afternoon. I'll have a look at the rest of the forecast and your holiday weekend forecast coming up.
Chris, thanks. An Arizona man has been identified as one of 3 firefighters killed battling a wildfire in Colorado. 27-year-old Nick Hutcherson of Glendale died Saturday while he was fighting the massive Snyder fire near the Utah border. Today, a procession honored Hutcherson and his 2 colleagues. The Interior Department says they died during a so-called burnover. That's the term for when a fire blocks all escape routes, forcing crews to deploy emergency shelters and let the fire overtake them. 2 other firefighters were injured. Hutcherson had been assigned to the Kaibab National Forest.
And as the country mourns the loss of those 3 firefighters, Arizona remembers 19 heroes lost in an eerily similar tragedy. Tomorrow marks 13 years since members of the Granite Mountain Hotshot crew died during the Yarnell Hill fire. The crew was also killed during a burnover. Today, a ceremony in Prescott honored the lives lost.
There were fathers, sons, brothers, and friends who ran toward the danger to protect the homes and lives of people they didn't even know.
The community that has been built since 13 years ago is so powerful that I don't think any of us could have really foreshadowed the powerful impact that our 19 left long after they departed this earth.
Tomorrow afternoon, there will be another remembrance event held in Yarnell. It begins at 4:15 at the Yarnell Hill Fire Memorial Park.
New at 10, a Valley woman claims that she was asleep in her own bed when Avondale police officers entered her apartment without a warrant, pointed guns at her, and put her in handcuffs.
12 News journalist Sean Rice is joining us now to explain the actions that she's taking against the officers that she encountered that night. Sean?
Yeah, Mark Caribe, what happened inside of Ashley Bradley's home last October is now at the center of a federal civil rights lawsuit. She was fast asleep when 3 Avondale police officers entered her home, suspecting that a crime was happening inside. It's that action, them entering her home, and many of the officers' actions that followed that has her claiming her civil rights have been violated.
Avondale Police, if anybody's in here, make yourself known.
3 Avondale police officers are seen on body camera footage from back on October 25th, 2025, walking through Ashley Bradley's unlocked garage door. According to a lawsuit, the officers were called by a neighbor who saw that garage door open for hours and reported seeing someone coming and going from the home.
She goes to sleep, and next thing she knows, she's waking up to hear her home alarm going off. She hears yelling but can't quite make it out, and then comes downstairs to see 3 Avondale police officers holding her at gunpoint.
Her attorney, Sailor Sowinski, says she had just returned home to Arizona from Georgia and was ordered downstairs by the officers with their guns drawn. Bradley was half naked and did not know why police officers would be in her home.
The officers could immediately see because of that she was unarmed. And nonetheless, they brought her down the stairs, and the first thing they did, the next thing they did was handcuff her.
You're detained. You're not under arrest. You're detained. Don't move.
The officers questioned Bradley about her residency. She remained handcuffed as she explained that she owned the home and turned her water back on that same day. After several minutes of checking the home and verifying her ownership, the handcuffs were removed. But her attorney claims the officers never had legal permission to enter in the first place.
For police to enter a home without a warrant, they typically need some kind of emergency circumstance. It's a pretty high bar. It has to be kind of life or death. Either that somebody really needs aid or that there is a crime actively occurring. Even then, they have a lot more requirements they need to meet.
As the officers were seen leaving her home, they expressed surprise that she was inside.
Sorry you had to go through that. To be honest, I think both sides were shocked.
But the impacts have been very real. Sowinski says her client is considering selling her home, moving away from the state of Arizona entirely.
One of the basic American freedoms is that your home is where you can go to be free from government interference. I think this is a perfect example of why it's so crucial that we have laws around that so this doesn't become the default response to someone leaving their garage door open.
Pretty shocking there. So we reached out to the Avondale Police Department for comment on the allegations outlined in this lawsuit. Today, a spokesperson told me they could not comment because of pending litigation. Caribe.
All right, Sean, thank you. The Senate Ethics Committee has dismissed a complaint against Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego over allegations of campaign finance violations and inappropriate sexual conduct. The committee found no violations during its investigation. The complaint was filed by Florida Republican Representative Anna Paulina Luna after California Congressman Eric Swalwell resigned amid sexual misconduct allegations. Gallego and Swalwell had described each other as best friends.
Tomorrow, the Supreme Court will issue two major decisions. The justices will rule on both transgender sports bans and birthright citizenship. The citizenship case stems from President Trump's executive order to end citizenship for babies born in the U.S. to undocumented immigrants. The 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all people born or naturalized in the U.S. However, the Trump administration argues it doesn't apply to undocumented immigrants. Today, the president was asked if he'll accept a ruling that doesn't go in his favor.
I guess I have to accept it's the Supreme Court, so I'll accept. I think it's very bad for our nation. We're the only nation that does it. No other nation does that birthright citizenship. No, not even close.
Well, to be clear, roughly 30 other countries do offer that, including Mexico and Canada, very similar to the U.S. The court's decision is expected to come down sometime around 7 a.m. Arizona time. 12 News and NBC will have complete coverage once the decision is released.